A poor person with only an older sister with a high school diploma is out of the question. Get out of here.
My sister Emily endured this horrible behavior in silence, but she looked up immediately and said with a smile,
I understand exactly what you're saying. Then the $60 million deal is off.
I had no idea what Emily was talking about. Mark seemed equally baffled, his eyes wide with surprise.
What are you talking about? The $60 million deal? Oh,
It seemed he recognized the deal Emily mentioned. Mark's face turned pale, and he began to tremble. My name is John Smith. When I was in 7th grade, my parents died in an accident. I later heard that while they were crossing the street with a green light, a truck driven by someone not paying attention hit them. It was around the end of the year, and our family was staying at my grandparents' house in the countryside. At the time, my sister Emily and I were watching TV at our grandparents' place, so we avoided the accident. Emily and I were in shock, unable to believe our parents were suddenly gone. But fortunately, our grandparents took us in and raised us until we became responsible adults. However, our grandparents were already over 70 and retired. They were living on a pension, so suddenly having 2 more kids must have been a financial strain. Despite that, our grandparents took on the role of our parents and raised us with great care. Thanks to them, we grew up without any major hardships and didn't get into trouble despite losing our parents. Instead, we aimed to repay our grandparents by becoming good students. I wasn't particularly athletic. My appearance was average, and I had no talent in music or art, but I decided to focus on studying. And before I knew it, my grades were among the top in my class. Emily is 4 years older than me, and she was just discussing with our parents about which college to attend.
I've decided to drop out of high school and start working.
She probably said that because she was concerned about our grandparents. But our grandparents desperately persuaded her.
You must at least graduate from high school since you've come this far.
Emily yielded to their persuasion, graduated high school while working part-time, and then gave up on college to get a job at a local company.
Emily, why aren't you going to college? You always liked studying.
When I asked, Emily answered with a carefree smile.
I don't like school studies. I want to start working and focus only on the necessary studies. That way, I can also help Grandpa and Grandma, and everyone will be happy, right?
With her top grades in school, Emily could probably have gotten into a prestigious university if she wanted. She said she wanted to help our grandparents. But looking back, I think she wanted to earn money so I could go to any college I wanted. Emily's job was at a small company with about 20 employees, but it was a high-level and comfortable place to work. She started studying for various related qualifications since she didn't have a college degree. The company president seemed to have high expectations for high school graduate Emily.
The hardships you endure when you're young will definitely benefit you.
Watching Emily, I also wanted to skip college and get a job. I couldn't just let her work while I enjoyed my college life. But Emily was strongly against this idea.
It's a waste for a smart kid like you not to go to college. I absolutely won't allow it.
Emily, who was always smiling, almost angrily persuaded me. Even so, I couldn't change my decision right away. However, after months of discussions, I finally gave in and decided to enroll in the architecture department of a prestigious university. I thought about getting a job with just a high school diploma, but I found out that I could get a scholarship that didn't need to be paid back due to my grades. I also worked part-time as a tutor, saved money, and earned many qualifications. Thanks to that, I was able to get a job at one of the top construction companies in the country right after graduation. With my background in architecture, I obtained a first-class architect license and focused on designing large-scale buildings. After 16 years with the company, now in my 40s, I'm steadily climbing the ranks. and there's talk of me being promoted to manager soon. I'm happy to be recognized. But more than anything, I enjoy my work. Many people use the buildings I design with smiles on their faces. Seeing such sights makes my passion for work grow even stronger. But Emily said to me,
It's great that your work is fulfilling, but I'd like to hear some good news soon.
I didn't understand what she meant by that. What do you mean by good news? Like getting a request for a large shopping center or something?
Don't play dumb. I'm talking about you getting married. Don't you have someone special you're seeing?
Emily, who wasn't married herself, seemed very worried about me. Emily, you're not married either.
If you have a happy family with your wife, then I'll think about it.
Emily answered jokingly. In reality, Emily had always been quite beautiful since she was young, and many people had shown interest in her. However, she was always working for me and my grandparents. Gradually, I started to feel that I needed to get married soon for Emily's sake as well. But to get married, I first needed to find someone. I'm not handsome by any means, and I had no idea how to meet women since I spent all my time studying during my school years. Understanding my personality well, Emily brought up the idea of an arranged marriage one day.
Actually, a president from a company we do business with mentioned a potential match. The woman is in her 30s and a bit younger than you. What do you think? Want to meet her?
For someone like me, struggling to figure out how to find a marriage partner, this proposal was a godsend. Thank you. Of course, I'd love to meet her.
They say she's quite beautiful. So, I don't know if she'll like you. But if it doesn't work out, let's just have a drink and forget about it.
Emily laughed and joked, looking genuinely happy. She was probably delighted that I was finally becoming open to the idea of marriage. On the day of the arranged meeting, since my match was the daughter of a company president, the venue was set at an upscale restaurant. It was my first time at an arranged meeting, and I was nervous from the morning. Even Emily, who came with me, seemed more tense than usual. We were so eager about the meeting that we arrived near the restaurant an hour early.
You're way too eager.
You're here early too, and it's not even your meeting. We joked with each other and spent the hour before the meeting talking about various things. Just the two of us. We waited for my match, but she didn't show up for a while. Finally, about an hour later, they arrived. The match was a father-daughter pair. My first thought was how stern the father looked. He had a stubborn look, his lips pressed tightly together and a deep frown on his forehead. Even though they were the ones who were late, he glared at us as if we had done something wrong. Honestly, thinking that this man might become my father-in-law made me want to turn around and leave immediately. But when I saw the woman standing next to him, I was instantly drawn back. She stood there, poised and beautiful, quietly present. Her posture and graceful movements were elegant. And even though I knew she was in her 30s, I would have believed it if someone told me she was in her 20s.
Hello, my name is Sarah Johnson. Thank you for meeting with me today. I apologize for being late. The train was delayed due to a signal failure, and we arrived late.
Sarah apologized politely, making me feel more embarrassed than anything. On the other hand, her father had a sullen look and didn't even greet us. It should be the father who greets us first. While I was thinking that, Sarah introduced him.
This is my father, Mark Johnson.
Even then, her father remained unfriendly and silent. I started to understand why someone as wonderful as Sarah hadn't gotten married yet. Emily and I introduced ourselves, and the meeting finally began. Then Mark muttered immediately,
Unlike you, I'm a company president, so I'm busy. Let's get this over with quickly.
The rudeness of his comment left the room in stunned silence. Sarah tried to cover for her father, but he just sat there in a bad mood, not saying anything. Sarah seemed to feel she had to make up for her father's unfriendliness, so she kept smiling the whole time. I felt like I'd seen Sarah's smile somewhere before. As I was about to ask, Mark suddenly spoke up.
Hey, you. I heard you work for a major company. What university did you graduate from? A man without a good education who got lucky with a job at a big company won't get far.
He didn't even greet us. And now he's talking about education. I was surprised, but it was an arranged meeting. It might be natural to check the other person's background. I graduated from the architecture department at Harvard University. When I truthfully stated my academic background, even Mark seemed impressed.
That's quite something.
Then Emily quickly added,
He was top of his class at university, graduating as valedictorian.
Normally, I don't care about academic achievements or boast about them, but at an arranged meeting, such information might be appreciated. Sure enough, Mark's attitude seemed to soften a bit. Then Mark asked about Emily's education.
So, what university did you attend?
Mark seemed fixated on academic qualifications. It seemed like he wanted to check not only my background, but also my family's. I was worried, but Emily responded without concern.
I started working right after graduating from high school. My parents passed away in an accident when I was in high school. Given the circumstances, I hope you'll consider this regarding my educational background.
Then, Mark said something surprising.
A high school graduate? Nowadays, anyone who hasn't gone to college is at the bottom of society. It seems to me you're just using your family situation as an excuse for being dumb.
Sarah tried to stop him in a panic, but Mark's tirade continued.
It looks like a smart kid was just randomly born into a family of idiots. Having relatives as stupid as yours would be a nuisance. You're not qualified to be Sarah's match. I don't even want to talk to someone with just a high school education.
With that, Mark slurped his lukewarm coffee noisily. Then, to our shock, he poured the leftover coffee on us. Thanks to that, both Emily and I had coffee stains on our clothes.
A poor person with only an older sister with a high school diploma is out of the question. Get out of here.
Emily endured this horrible behavior in silence, but she looked up immediately and said with a smile,
I understand exactly what you're saying. Then the $60 million deal is off.
I had no idea what Emily was talking about. Mark seemed equally baffled, his eyes wide with surprise.
What are you talking about? The $60 million deal? Oh.
It seemed he recognized the deal Emily mentioned. Mark's face turned pale, and he began to tremble. I didn't understand at all. So I asked Emily directly, Emily, what are you talking about? Are you working on a business deal or something?
That's right. Actually, our company was considering starting a new partnership with Mark's company. We were discussing a significant $60 million deal, and I have the final say on it. I was looking forward to meeting the president of the partner company today, but...
Emily spoke to me, but she explained loudly enough for Mark to hear.
I can't believe you have the authority to decide on a $60 million deal. There's no way a high school graduate like you has such power.
Mark denied it, his face turning red with agitation. But I knew Emily was telling the truth. Since Emily joined the company, its performance had skyrocketed. The reason was that Emily had obtained numerous qualifications and initiated several internal reforms. Thanks to Emily, the company had grown rapidly and now had 400 employees, making it a major corporation. Emily, who had been with the company since its early days, now held the title of vice president in her 40s. She was a powerful figure expected to become the next president. So, it was no surprise that Emily had the authority to decide on a $60 million deal.
You'll find out the truth in next week's meeting. Although we will be declining any future business with your company. Since you dislike dealing with high school graduates, there shouldn't be a problem, right?
Mark seemed too shocked to speak. He was so shocked that he collapsed into his seat, trembling all over. His breathing became labored. So I grew concerned and spoke up. Emily's accomplishments at her current company have made her the next candidate for CEO. I believe what she said is true. So you might want to reconsider your comments. The moment he heard my words, Mark jumped up and straightened his posture, desperately apologizing.
I am truly sorry. I had no idea you were such an important person. Please forgive me.
However, Emily interrupted his words in a polite tone.
What do you have to apologize for? You don't have to deal with a high school graduate. I get to cut ties with a president who judges people by their education. It's a win-win. And besides,
Speaking calmly, Emily gently placed her hand on my shoulder.
I can't forgive someone who insults my brother John. This arrangement is off. We won't be meeting again, but I wish you well. I hope your company makes it through this.
The angrier Emily gets, the calmer she speaks. There's no one scarier than Emily when she's angry. As I thought this, Emily quickly stood up. Mark and Sarah were left speechless and stunned. I intended to follow Emily, but I felt sorry for Sarah. So I leaned in and whispered to her, I'm sorry for today. If you need anything, please contact me. Then I handed her my business card and left. I thought that if I left without saying anything, it would hurt Sarah even more, despite Mark's harsh words. I later heard that Emily knew the business partner was coming and wanted to see what they were like.
I'm sorry for ruining the meeting. Sarah seemed like a really nice person, so it's a shame.
No, I couldn't just stay silent when we were looked down upon because of our education. But I do feel bad for Sarah. If her father wasn't like that, she probably would have found a good match. Then Emily gave a mischievous smile.
So, you did like Sarah after all. Should I reconsider the deal?
I can't ask you to reconsider a $60 million deal for something like that. Besides, I think your decision was right. Doing business with a company led by a president like him would only lead to trouble. That was my true feeling. But it was also true that I was curious about Sarah. It wasn't just because she was beautiful. I felt like I had met her before. As I was lost in thought, a message came through on my phone. To my surprise, it was from Sarah herself.
I sincerely apologize for my father's rudeness today. However, I would regret not being able to meet with you again. If you don't mind, I would like to treat you to a meal as an apology. It would be great if Emily could join us too.
I was shocked and showed the message to Emily.
Oh, I'm busy that day, so you should go alone.
But we haven't even set a date yet.
Just go enjoy the meal. It has nothing to do with the business deal.
With Emily's encouragement, I quickly replied to Sarah. Later, when we had dinner together, I was told something surprising.
Actually, I knew about you before the arranged meeting, John. When I was a student, you were a tutor at the prep school I attended. Do you remember that?
It turned out that Sarah was a student at the prep school, where I once worked part-time. No wonder her smile seemed familiar. But your last name is different from before.
My parents divorced when I was in high school. After that, my mother remarried my current father, so we're not related by blood.
I see. That's why you don't look alike. Knowing that Sarah and the rude Mark were not biological father and daughter was a relief. Sarah continued talking.
After this incident, I realized I couldn't stay with my father. My mother, who regretted remarrying him during a difficult time after her divorce, decided to divorce him when I told her about what happened at the meeting.
I feel bad if our meeting led to their divorce.
Don't worry about it. My father has always been overbearing. This meeting just clarified it. My mother is relieved and thankful that she made up her mind.
After saying this, Sarah blushed suddenly. Then, with a smile, she said,
And without my father, we can proceed with our relationship. Did you know? I've liked you since my prep school days. You were my first love, my tutor, John.
Her shocking confession made my face heat up as well. In the end, we started dating, and I reported it to Emily.
I thought you two were perfect for each other from the beginning. I'm so happy for you.
Emily was delighted. When I told her that Sarah's mother was planning to get a divorce, Emily sighed in relief.
That's good. We can move forward with canceling that deal.
Afterward, Emily's company officially refused the deal with Mark's company. Not only that, they decided to cease all future business with them. Since Emily's company held a significant market share, cutting ties caused Mark's company's performance to plummet rapidly. They soon faced severe financial difficulties, and now they're on the verge of bankruptcy. Sarah's mother also divorced Mark 3 months later. Apparently, Mark had been unfaithful, and Sarah's mother collected enough evidence to receive a large settlement and asset division. With his company failing and personal expenses piling up, Mark lost his vigor. On the other hand, with no obstacles in my way, I formally proposed to Sarah. She happily accepted on the spot. Feeling relieved that my relationship with Sarah was going well, Emily also decided to introduce me to the person she was seeing. We might end up having our weddings around the same time. I daydream about this happy possibility. Both my work and personal life are fulfilling, and I am more motivated than ever. I am determined to work hard for my dear wife Sarah, and for the family we might have in